Good boxing fans, so as I reported the other day, Canelo Alvarez is out of the December 6th date on HBO, which was going to be his return back to HBO in his first fight out of this apparent 6-fight deal that he has with HBO. Rumors are already starting to come out that Canelo's really not injured, and you know they're ducking Joshua Clottey and this, that, and the third. Me personally, I just think the timing is rather convenient. Fight's December 6th. It's already past October 6th, so it's like less than a month to, or at least less than 2 months to train for the fight. But I think maybe Golden Boy was getting a feel of the crowd and the audience, and a lot of people weren't too amped about a Canelo versus Clottey fight. I mean, I think in general the fight that everybody's waiting to see at this point is Miguel Cotto versus Canelo Alvarez matchup, which really now with Canelo on HBO and Miguel Cotto still working with Top Rank and them having a relationship with HBO, it's a no-brainer. It's gonna be a lot easier to make, and I don't really see there being a problem them making the fight. But obviously now that Canelo is not fighting Clottey, the talks are already somewhat beginning. Cotto's team, or one of the representatives, I forgot who mentioned it, basically stated that Cotto is going to be the A side in this situation. He's earned the right. And, you know, that's hard to argue. You know, Cotto has been a part of 2 pay-per-views that went over 1 million buys. You know, can't ignore his gate numbers at Madison Square Garden. And you know, for this fight, I mean, I don't think he's not gonna get the lion's share, and that's not to say that he's gonna be getting this huge lump sum over Canelo, because obviously Canelo is gonna be bringing the Mexican crowd, and it's like the old saying goes, it takes 2 to tango, and both of these guys are gonna make a big event, which is really leading me to believe that I think they don't want to take a chance so much as far as the ankle injury is concerned. There might be some validity to it. I just think the timing is rather convenient that, you know, they're not going to have this fight on December 6th. And, you know, Clottey might have been a fight that might have been a little difficult for Canelo leading into a fight with Miguel Cotto. Now, that being said, both guys potentially going into a May fight, and I'll talk about the date in a second, both guys will be 10 and 11 months removed from their previous fight. So for Cotto, it may be beneficial to him, it may be not, you know, with the amount of time he's out of the ring, you know, considering, you know, he's already at the later stages of his career. He's got maybe 2 solid fights left in him, and it might be beneficial to him to not have to fight in December, because when you look at the opposite end of the spectrum, you know, you look at a 37 going on 38-year-old Floyd Mayweather, who's been consistent for the past 2 years, but are we seeing maybe small deterioration in Floyd Mayweather, being that he's fighting this consistently? You know, I mean, who knows? I think going into the fight, if Canelo legitimately does have an ankle injury, it's obviously going to benefit him to take some time off, but I just find it rather odd that they mentioned this ankle injury now, and they're saying that it was ailing him back in the Angulo fight, yet he still went and fought Erislandy Lara. And even that being said, nothing was mentioned after the Lara fight. So again, I don't know, man. I really don't know how to look at the cancellation of the fight, more so than I think that they're just kind of securing Canelo for a big money fight with Miguel Cotto. And like I said, I don't think it's going to be much of a problem to make. I think really the story going into making that fight is if they're genuinely going to challenge Floyd for that Cinco de Mayo day. And I've talked to several people about this, and you know, I think a lot of boxing fans have forgotten the Puerto Rico and Mexico rivalry as far as a Cinco de Mayo situation, because the only fights we've been seeing on a grand scale on that date has been Floyd Mayweather against your next Mexican or Puerto Rican, Argentinian. But in this scenario, let's just say for argument's sake, the Pacquiao fight is not made. And I'm going along the lines of the fight is not going to be made for May. because there's a story coming out that was even posted on ESPN about Floyd Sr. saying that the fight is definitely gonna happen, and we've heard this time and time again, but I find it hard to believe that as big a name as Floyd Mayweather is, as big of a pay-per-view seller he still is, regardless if his numbers are starting to go down a little bit. I find it hard to believe that him fighting, let's say, Amir Khan on Cinco de Mayo is gonna outdo Cotto versus Canelo. You got probably the biggest Mexican star as far as current young stars against Puerto Rico's biggest star right now, potentially fighting for the middleweight championship of the world. Again, it takes two to tango, and I find it hard to believe that Floyd versus Amir Khan is gonna outdo that in the sense of him taking that Cinco de Mayo date. Again, Floyd is always chock full of surprises, so we don't know if he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve, because as it stands, the only fight I think Floyd can make outside, or really in general, that will outdo Cotto versus Canelo is if he, you know, drops the gauntlet and says, yo, I'm ready to fight Pacquiao. That's the only fight to me that's going to outdo that. Because with HBO, both Golden Boy and Top Rank, both getting together to promote this fight, I don't think even Al Heyman can really do much to help Floyd in this situation, which is, I think, whether people want to believe it or not, I think the pressure's on not only Floyd, but for Pacquiao to make this fight for next year, man, or for next May. Floyd fighting Amir Khan, nobody wants to see that shit. And I think for them to make a Cotto versus Canelo fight and the way that they could promote that fight, Showtime would have a hell of a mountain to climb to outdo the promotion that HBO is going to usher in for that fight. But we're still in October. A lot can happen from now till then. But as it stands right now, both Miguel Cotto and Canelo Alvarez are out for the rest of the year, which leads me to believe that the negotiations are going to start as early as January. Now, there was talks about Miguel Cotto coming back to fight in January, to fight, I guess, somebody, but I find it hard to believe, because I think at this point Miguel Cotto just wants big fights, and I think for both guys, they just got to stay in good shape up until the point where this fight is put into real negotiations and it's signed, sealed, and delivered, and the training begins. Because I think for both guys, it's going to be the biggest training camps, if that, for both guys in their careers. So again, we're still in October, so we'll have to wait and see what happens in the next couple of months. But I would say get ready for Cotto versus Canelo, guys. I think this is obviously going to happen. Just they're going to fine-tune the contracts and, you know, get that situated. But I don't think this is going to be a very hard fight to make. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So as I always say, subscribe, hit the links, and I'm still going to be talking about Bernard Hopkins versus Sergey Kovalev that is coming up. And, you know, everybody's been asking me about that fight. So, like I said, stay tuned, subscribe, hit the links, and I'll be back with you soon.